9.5 billion chickens, turkeys, pigs, and cows are slaughtered every year for food in the United States, stated by the American Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. To put this enormous number into context, there are more animals killed in 1 year than people on Earth. Good morning, my name is Dhruv Mayani, and this alarming number led me to question to what extent has livestock in the United States have been affected due to changes that humans have made over the past 20 years. Livestock in the United States has been negatively affected due to the changes that humans have made over the past 20 years. Pollution has contributed to this negative treatment of cattle. Industrial farming, also known as factory farms, put livestock in extreme harsh conditions. Large numbers of animals are kept indoors, as shown in this picture, in confined spaces to the point where they can't even move around. Space isn't the only issue in these factories, though. The majority of the issues come from the way that livestock are being treated, like how they're being force-fed to eat fattening foods which are unhealthy and unnatural to the animal. Extended periods of prolonged standing have been argued by some to be a major risk for lameness, which may also be associated with painful experiences. This was said by Cook Norland, researchers from Food Animal Protection Medicine Group at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. The cows in these factories are standing for prolonged hours, which lead to a great extent of discomfort and pain. Putting these animals in such harsh conditions is an inhumane thing to do. This infographic shows that there are parts of the cattle being used, including the blood, manure, and the organs, which are just a few of the things that are being aggressively farmed off of these animals. With that being said, it shows how these animals are being treated as simply for the good of humans and aren't even recognized as animals anymore. A solution to this would be to implement animal welfare regulations that could help ensure the well-being of the livestock animals. This image provided by the College Board Stimulus shows how the Daphnia have significantly higher concentrations of rural water fleas of total body fat and proteins, which are associated with handling stress such as heat and as well as faster life cycles. This proves how the GMOs are not as helpful as they seem, because the Daphnia have gone through all these worst changes naturally, and the forced modifications for cattle are further worse. Genetic modifications is an alternative for reproducing better livestock, but this comes at a hefty consequence to these animals. They're heavily modified to produce all kinds of products for animals. The genetic pathway from the research article, Livestock 2.0, Genome, editing for fitter, healthier, and more productive farm animals shows the development in livestock breeding and all the new technologies that are being implemented. First, the animals are undergoing domestication, as shown in this picture, and selective breeding to ensure that the best animals are being chosen. Then, the genome editing and transgenesis essentially are changing the genetic makeup of these animals. The livestock that originally entered this process was modified so much that when it's completely done with the whole modification process, their DNA traits and immunity was completely changed to match things that we, as consumers, want from them. A solution would be to lower the force of using GMOs to provide them with better alternative solutions. According to Kanzashi, a researcher at the University of Colorado, Raising livestock for human consumption generates nearly 15% of the total gas emissions, which is greater than all the transportation emissions combined. It also uses 70% of agricultural land, leading to detrimental effects on the biodiversity, deforestation, and water pollution. With these continuous changes that humans have caused, it shows the harmful ways that humans have been affecting our environment, leading to the dangerous effects it has on the lifestyle of the cow. Stagnant water contaminated with manure or other nutrients may develop blue-green algae, which can poison livestock, causing muscle tremors, liver damage, and death. This is a study made by the University of Missouri, which showed how due to these contaminants that the livestock were being poorly treated and led to the death of many livestock. A solution would be to implement rules on pollution. So the first solution was to have welfare regulations, but these regulations can be implemented, but there's no guarantee that they would be followed. The second solution was to lower GMOs, but better food options and benefits can be limited due to the amount of money being spent on the livestock's well-being. And lastly, rules against pollution. A limitation would be that the pollution is such a prevalent issue today that reducing pollution could be a hard thing to do in today's world. In conclusion, humans are terrifyingly affecting the environment without foreseeing the consequences that it causes to the detrimental effects on the lives of animals that live there. This is my works cited page. Thank you.
All right, 2 questions I have for you. First up, how valid and reliable were the sources that you use, and then how do you know?
Could you repeat the question again?
How valid and reliable were the sources that you use, and then how do you know?
My sources were quite viable due to me doing research on secure websites like EBSCO and government-protected websites. These websites allow you to use peer-reviewed academic journals, which are supported by others.
Okay. And if you had more time, what additional research would you conduct on this?
Additional research that I would conduct is on different cattle that have different livestock that have been affected by the negative impacts of human due to the cows not being the only animal that has been negatively infected by humans.